Acting Speaker, community safety is one of our priorities and it's the responsibility of the state to continue to change and adapt to our changing society. And our criminal law is no exception to this. Australians are more online now than ever before, and it is incumbent on us here in Parliament to ensure our laws acknowledge this. People in my community, particularly young people, are no longer looking to old-fashioned media like the Herald Sun for news and updates on our community. Young people are producing and consuming content themselves, a lot for positive reasons, but some produce content to boast about criminal behaviour, serious criminal behaviour they are involved in. I regularly meet with police at Werribee Police Complex, and in a meeting with myself, my fellow Wyndham MPs and the Minister for Police, the Proactive Policing Unit described the challenge of social media being used as a tool to promote crimes in the community and encourage one-upmanship of escalating violence. They are seeing issues like aggravated burglary and robberies broadcast on these social media platforms and promoting self-promotion by these offenders. Unlike the Liberals and National Party, we don't just bleat about crime and try to stir fear in communities like mine. We meet and listen to police and develop well-considered laws that will meet the challenges our police face daily. This legislation responds to the horrific trend on the rise among young people who are using platforms like TikTok, Instagram and Snapchat to gain clout and fame for engaging in dangerous and criminal behaviour. But before reflecting on the specifics of the bill, I want to take a moment to explore the behaviour it is targeting. There was a time as a teacher you knew about a potential fight at or outside of school based on whispers and rumours. This just isn't the case anymore. Social media platforms are being used to create beef between young people and encourage them to commit serious crimes. While work is underway federally to control the access to these platforms, which I welcome, we need to continue to adapt to changing crime trends. Following on from our 2022 laws around grossly offensive public conduct, these laws build on top of that. I used to dread coming into school and having a line of good conscience students at my door ready to show me the screenshots and grabs of serious criminal behaviour by other young people posted on Snapchat. Often police would be well aware of these incidents and actively working to convict the perpetrators, but as for boasting about these serious offences, there was no clear way to hold them to account. Young people may be increasingly plugged into these platforms, but it doesn't mean they want to see this sort of behaviour, and I commend them for when they call it out and report it. This is one of the many reasons why it is imperative that this Parliament passes these laws. The bill introduces a new offence to the Crimes Act that criminalises a person publishing material like photos and videos depicting their involvement in a serious offence. The offence will apply to a person who has been found guilty of specific crimes, including affray, burglary and aggravated burglary, robbery and armed robbery, car theft, home invasions and violent disorder. Offences that my local police have told us, and the intelligence tells us, are being increasingly displayed and promoted online. This new offence will also capture anyone involved in promoting or facilitating these crimes, including those who are complicit or incite that offending. Offenders will face an additional 2 years jail for the substantive physical offence they are charged for. I do want to go to the amendments circulated by the member for Malvern briefly. Look, there's accusations of this bill not necessarily being thorough with the list of offences that are there. But the amendment that's proposed could replicate offences that already exist, like grossly offensive public conduct, or using a carriage service, the Commonwealth offence, using a carriage service to cause offence. These laws that we're proposing here are targeted and they're based on intelligence from police. It's targeting the behaviour we are seeing, particularly among young people. You can't look at this bill and these offences in a vacuum, as if this is the first and only way we have outlawed this conduct. This bill builds on the Allan Labor government's work to crack down on crime. We've seen our tough bail laws for repeat and violent offending start to have that effect. We've had $1.6 billion in this last budget to strengthen our justice system and keep communities safe. We've had our landmark anti-vilification and social cohesion reforms to protect Victorians from hate, which I do note the Liberals and Nationals opposed for so long. And we are working on further improvements to stalking and family and violence intervention order laws. And reflecting on this too, particularly from my experience as an educator, we know that when it comes to making sure Victorians have access to better opportunities and a life away from crime, it's only this Labor government that invests in those opportunities, like free TAFE, like cheaper healthcare, like getting kids through school through our vocational major and our VCE senior pathways. If we're not engaging them in this way, we won't see a reduction in this kind of behaviour. We can't see this bill in a vacuum. I recently met with residents from the Savannah estate, including Aravind, and thank you for organising it. They are concerned about crime in their community, and we spoke about the different ways we are supporting our local police to hold offenders to account. I spoke about these laws that were coming up this week, and they were very excited to hear about how they are an innovative way to continue to address the changing crime trends in our community. We're also built the largest police complex outside of the CBD in Werribee, boosted the number of police in the Westgate Division, rolled out new resources like mobile technology, ironically, mobile technology to our frontline police, as well as a raft of new laws. When we really drilled down in our meeting and conversation, they felt that it was actually the services that young people have in Manor Lakes that was the real cause of their concerns. That's why I fought to secure funding to increase youth services spaces there, as well as working with our local schools to open up more programs to keep young people engaged, and encouraging our schools who do great work with our local police to share that intelligence and meet regularly with the principals and proactive policing unit. Thank you to those people from the estate for meeting with me. And look, I think this is about taking a targeted, sensible approach to a novel area of law. Our bill will introduce a crime that is very similar to the one that was introduced in New South Wales, except we go further by adding violent disorder and affray. The list of offences covered ensures the law is focused, proportionate, and directly addresses criminal behaviour, causing the greatest concern in the community. The laws will send a clear message to anyone thinking of using their criminal actions to gain a following or to encourage others to offend. You will be held for distributing this vile content. I think it's really important to also reflect on the fact that this bill is trying to address a really novel area of law and a trend that we're seeing in society that has increasingly become more disturbing. It's part of a whole gamut of changes that we've done recently, changes that people, particularly out in the Werribee electorate, have come to me to speak about, whether that's ensuring that young offenders who are out on bail are held to account for that offending while they're on bail. It's also for the laws that we've passed around making sure that those different categories of offences, and we're looking at this soon, different categories of offences apply with a stricter bail test. In meeting with my local police recently, I asked them about the effectiveness and what they're seeing. And they are seeing more of those people who were on their RAP sheet, around 150 people on this regular sheet that they keep updated. They are seeing more people not getting that. They're seeing more people getting kept on remand and are seeing more people getting denied bail because I think, as much as we want to try and support people to make sure that they don't offend and make sure that if they do offend, they get the supports around them to make sure they don't do it again, we also have to remember that one of the obligations of government is to protect those people in the community who are victims of crime. These victims of crime are ordinary Victorians, and my heart does go out to them, and I do speak to many victims of crime every day in my job and throughout the community. And I think it's important to remember that these particular reforms are all about changing and adapting to our society. It is one of our top priorities, and it's the responsibility of the state to continue to change and adapt to our changing society. Crime prevention is just not only about these sorts of laws, but about providing people with opportunities, whether that's better healthcare, education, training, transport, housing, or community services. The work we are doing to create better opportunities for people is whole of government work, and it's the bread and butter of this Labor government, and I commend this bill to the House.